Hey, Brian with Blackseed, thanks for joining. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Just playing around in the shop tonight, so I thought I'd turn on the camera for a little bit and show you what we're doing. I'm bending up the last of my brake lines for the truck, and then I'll show you kind of what I did at the master cylinder. Something a little bit different. I don't know, maybe goofy, maybe not, but also do upholstery, so some of the quirkiness that I come up with, you know, sometimes it plays out. Just wanted to show this Capri flaring tool for making brake lines. Here's what I'll also say that I don't have yet, and I always fight straightening this tubing when you get it. They make a straightener for a couple $100. I think that's my next investment, because I tend to end up bending the brake lines myself, and then you know, I always have a straight edge out and I'm fighting them against a table, and luckily for the truck there's not a ton of bends in it. Also use I like this billet flaring tool, or it's a bending tool that I use. This came in handy. I've probably had this thing for like 20 years. I know they make some that are way more complicated, but just for bending brake lines and everything that I do, that works good. Cheaper flaring tools, I've always had issues with getting a good double flare on them. So I thought I'd try this Capri. I bought it like Amazon. I actually think it came with the brake line tubing for about $100, a couple rolls of this, and some fittings, right? I'm always weary of the cheaper fittings, of rounding off and everything. So I always use, you know, always make sure you're using a wrench made for brake lines, right? So it's almost a box end, but it gives you enough to get past the brake line. And it's always these little black things always seem like they're nicer. You can really torque down on those. But I got the cheaper ones. Brakes, you always do the cheapest thing possible. I'm kidding. So anyway, the Capri tool, pretty simple. I'm flaring one now, and I would say it's okay, but I'd really like to try doing the brake line sometime with a you know, a really nice flaring tool and see how it goes. I bet that's probably still the best way, right? So they give you this little stopper that kind of goes in to the end, and it tells you basically there's a notch in the back. Let's see if I can show that. So there's kind of a notch in the back, your brake line slides in, then you put the stopper in. That's just 10mm tightens it down and kind of places it against the stopper. So now these two 10mm bolts are tightened down. You can pull the stopper out. It's kind of a fixture, right? So goes in, tells you exactly where to stop your tubing. And then there's this piece that has both flares on it, right? So since it's a double flare, there's the first side. Just goes in. Now the problem I've had with doing some of these is that when you're tightening this, it can push the line down into the fixture a little bit, so your flare doesn't come out as nice as it should. But we're only talking brakes, right? So I've redone some over and over, trying to get the nicest flare I can get. And try not to over tighten them. So that's all there is to it. Torque it down one side, flip it over, torque it down the other. You have your double flare. Take the tool apart. Don't forget your nut. And you have your flare. So, I'm going to actually cut that. I got to go 13 inches and bend it. So this piece, I'm only going to make one bend right now. I usually have a Sharpie laying around, but I got to have this thing bent at 13 inches. This tool's kind of neat. I'm guessing you can still get them. I don't know. Like I said, I bought this one probably 20 years ago. Very simple. Gives me a decent, clean bend. You know, there's our tools out there, straightening tool, everything else. I'm actually going to honey a lot more of this, maybe 2 foot. I'm going to just kind of roll it out, and I'm going to do the last flare under the truck. So I'm going to stop right here on this piece, because I'll end up climbing under the truck pretty soon. But I want to show you what I did to the master cylinder, which is kind of neat. Posted on my Instagram when I did it, and I skipped a stitch. You'll see what I mean in a second. And I went back and redid it. It's nothing much, whatever, right? Wilwood master cylinder, proportioning valve. I did my first 3 lines, and then I took a piece of leather. It's basically a stitch down, top stitch down each side, and then I just hand stitched each line. I only did one direction. You can go both, but I wasn't that motivated. And then I made a little. I took a little strap that's a wire clamp. I flattened it out and kind of made the shape I needed. Wrapped it in leather, and then I just used a quarter 20 button head and put in there. So not that big a deal. The only thing I wish I would have done was incorporated the brake light switch wire, since it's here. But there's a bracket on the back, so I'm going to come off the back somehow and try to drop it on that side of the other side of the brake booster. See if I can get that to disappear a little bit. I still have a few wires here off to the side. Those are for the hood when it goes on, right? Because it has the turn signals and parking lights in it. So still messing with it. Have a few more parts coming, and hopefully get, you know, the front side wrapped up very quick. And then we got all the wiring pretty much tucked up out of the way in here. Have a Snowden seat. I got a cover for it. The wires hanging underneath the dash are actually for the radio. I got the original radio, which was actually pretty nice, but I mean, I think it's only AM, right? Yeah. So that's actually gutted. And I'm waiting on a small linear actuator. I'm probably going to cut the front just a little bit. And then I'm going to install either my air ride control or the sniper controller inside of it. That way the old school face folds down and pushes out, you know, some of the electronics. That's for the sniper. This little control unit. Haven't got that far yet. I got the radio. I've been planning the other. Sometimes it takes me a couple weeks to try to figure out exactly how I want to do it. I've seen some other guys use, you know, the AccuAir controllers, and they'll put AccuAir in the ashtray, and the ashtray will flip out and it's hinged on the back side. I'm sure I can get there. I just don't, you know, want to have an engineering degree to design this. So trying to get there, just not there yet. That's it. So I'm going to work on this brake line. I'm going to climb under here, and then maybe we can be bleeding brakes by the weekend. Thanks for watching.